Well, there's breaking news coming in at this hour. This is in context of the Tejas crash. We're getting important information as well as visuals of the last seconds of the Tejas in high-rise. Important information that we're tracking at this hour. As you know, a photographer seems to have captured the horror on his camera. You can see the visuals of which on your screens at the moment. Well, on this, you're my colleague Vishnu Shom joining us on the telecast. Vishnu, you've been tracking the story from the very first minute when, of course, the tragic information broke. Walk us through the details. What is the latest that we've got on this?
A series of photographs that you have on your screen which actually shows the final moment of the Tejas aircraft just less than a second before it crashes. The Tejas was performing what appears to have been a negative G maneuver. This is a standard part of its flight profile. To exit this maneuver at fairly low altitude, the pilot got into a roll, which is another maneuver which is performed in aerobatic displays. But there was very low altitude at this stage in that aerobatic display profile. And that roll maneuver appears to not have been a snap roll or a quick roll, which would have enabled the aircraft to enter into horizontal flight. It was in fact some sort of what is called a barrel roll. In other words, a maneuver where the aircraft actually lost a little bit of altitude. By the time the aircraft was able to get wings level after completing this barrel roll, it appears, the vertical speed of the aircraft, in other words, the rate at which it was descending, was still too high. And unfortunately, the aircraft crashed at that stage. It mushed into the ground. Had there been a few hundred feet more of altitude on the aircraft, I would suggest that perhaps it would have survived. That said, this is what the video sort of seems to reveal. We are not investigators. We can only describe what we are seeing. There is a full court of inquiry which is looking into this. Presumably, there'd be local authorities as well. But what you actually see are the last few moments of the Tejas aircraft shortly before it crashed in Dubai. And this is something which is, it's just another reminder of how dangerous military flight is as we sort of take into account these pictures which have come in. What you can see, and this is important, is that the pilot was wings level. The wings were level in the aircraft. Unfortunately, at that stage, the aircraft wasn't able to transition to horizontal flight and pull up from there. It was actually going down, and it didn't have the altitude to actually resume level flight and then pull up. And the altitude was just not there. It mushed into the ground. Very, very tragic indeed.
Right, absolutely, Vishnu. You rightly mentioned that investigation is taking place, and it wouldn't be right to make tall claims at this point. But also help us understand through your expertise, what do you make of the final moments in which we do have visuals of the aircraft in air? What exactly is it that you make out of it?
Well, exactly what I described. The last few moments of the crash, there was, as I mentioned, the aircraft appeared to be in a negative G maneuver. This is the standard maneuver which is performed by the Tejas. I believe this was performed at the Dubai Airshow over the last few days as well. The aircraft transitioned from that into a roll,